Now, investors are divesting themselves of Russian interests. The government's borrowing, the borrowing costs of the Russian government have doubled to 17%. The S&P credit agency has downgraded Russia to junk status. And to make this economic blowback worse, a number of multinationals are severing ties with Moscow. This includes energy companies, tech giants, banks, production houses, sporting bodies.
Oligarchs, businesses, oil refineries, and military exports. These financial penalties have already disrupted the Moscow Stock Exchange and sent the Russian currency cratering more than 30%. A sharper economic fallout is expected in the days ahead. JP Morgan says Russia could even enter a recession. To make this economic blowback worse, the corporate world is also severing ties with Russia. A host of multinational companies have taken some big steps. If we speak of oil companies, energy giant Shell has decided to exit all Russian operations, including its partnership with Russia's state-owned Gazprom. Norwegian energy firm Equinor is also divesting its joint ventures in Russia. It will be abandoning a deal it struck almost 30 years ago. If we speak of tech giants, Dell has suspended all product sales in Russia. Intel is suspending chip shipments to Russia. Facebook parent company Meta has barred Russian ads on its website. Twitter, too, has restricted access to Russian handles in Europe. And Google has banned Russian state media from collecting ad money from its websites, apps, and YouTube videos. Then we have financial institutions. British bank HSBC is winding down relations with several Russian banks. The New York Stock Exchange has temporarily suspended trading for Russian companies. Nasdaq, too, has barred Russian-owned firms from trading on its exchanges. The list doesn't end there. FIFA and UEFA have barred Russia from all international competitions. The IOC has banned both Russian and Belarusian athletes from competing. Formula One has cancelled this year's Russian Grand Prix. Transport giants FedEx and UPS have suspended their shipments to Russia. America's Delta Airlines has halted its alliance with Russia's Aeroflot. Disney has paused theatrical releases of its films in Russia. Netflix has suspended its streaming of all its services. And singing competition Eurovision will not allow any Russian acts this year. Even the president of Russia hasn't been spared. In 2013, he was conferred with an honorary black belt by World Taekwondo. The organization has now stripped him of this honor. It has also refused to recognize henceforth. Now, here's the thing. Some of these measures may be purely symbolic. They may not inflict serious economic damages on Russia, but they send a message to Moscow that there can be no place for such a naked aggression in today's world.
They say war is an ugly business. It's true, unless of course you're a businessman, in which case war is great business. You can sell more weapons to more people, and who knows that better than the West? They have waged war all over the world, in Iraq, and Ukraine. More than a dozen countries have promised dollars, the European Union 502 million, Australia 50 million, Canada 33 million, and these are the latest promises. The total assistance since not like Afghanistan or Iraq. American soldiers are not fighting in this war. So all the money and none of the sacrifice. What's more, new buyers are entering the market like Germany and Australia. Last year, the German defense budget was 47 billion euros. This year, it has been risen to 100 billion euros. To expand defense spending, some of that money will go to Europe.
President Zelensky said, "Don't give me Iranian US dollars to support both lethal and non-lethal defensive support for Ukraine. The overwhelming majority of that, that's some 70 million Australian dollars, will be in the lethal category. We're talking missiles, we're talking ammunition, we're talking supporting them in their defence of their own homeland in Ukraine. And we'll be doing that in partnership with NATO."
I'm not saying this military assistance is bad. Ukraine does need weapons. I'm saying this war should not become a business. We've seen it happen before. Western leaders needlessly extend conflicts. Instead of talks, they opt for violence. That should not happen in Ukraine. If this war drags on, if there is an insurgency after it, it must happen because the Ukrainians want it, not because Wall Street can make money. Meanwhile, Ukraine has made a big claim. It says Russia is using banned weapons. This is a Ukrainian army base that we're going to show you now, completely destroyed by the Russians. 70 Ukrainian soldiers died here. We have accessed an eyewitness video of this attack. Just take a look. That was a massive explosion. Bullets and tank bombs cannot cause that kind of damage. So what was it? Ukraine's ambassador to the United States says this was a vacuum bomb.
they are shooting us with missiles, ballistic missiles. They use the vacuum bomb today, which is actually prohibited by Geneva Convention. So, the devastation that Russia is trying to inflict on Ukraine is large, but we Ukrainians will resist. We are defending our home. We do not have any other option. We will not get tired. We will not stop. We will not surrender. We will continue defending our home. And it's not only our very motivated and capable military, not only our armed forces, but everyone.
So what is a vacuum bomb, also known as a thermobaric weapon? Vacuum bombs suck in oxygen from the atmosphere when they explode. They use the air to create long-lasting and high-temperature explosions. They can vaporize human bodies, crush internal organs. Russia is using them in this conflict, and that's not all. Moscow has been accused of deploying cluster bombs too. Two international humanitarian rights groups have made this claim. Cluster bombs have been banned by more than 100 countries, remember. A cluster bomb contains a number of submunitions or smaller bombs. It attacks by spraying these bombs all over a large area. Reports say Russia has used these cluster bombs on civilians in Ukraine. Several videos of such attacks have come out. In some cases, the casualties were significant. Allow me to show you some of those clips. The first one was captured from a car. The driver was just 100 meters away from a children's hospital. Suddenly, the car came under attack. That video was from to it. Well, he has. Kishida says hosting nukes is out of the question for Japan, and that Japan's non-nuclear principles are sacred. That's not the case for Belarus. They're diving into the Russian bear hug. This week, the Belarusian parliament passed a key legislation. What does it say? Two major things. A, that Belarus can host Russian nuclear weapons. And B, that Russian troops can stay permanently on their soil. In other words, Belarus is becoming a Russian satellite state. And if that happens, other European nations may react, nations like Finland. Until now, they have remained non-aligned. But after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the Finns are rethinking. Basically, they became a reluctant power. But last week, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz made a U-turn. He is planning to spend $112 billion on defense. He's sending weapons to Ukraine. This is a return of German hard power. What about the so-called rogue states? How are they seeing this war. As a lesson, Ukraine handed over its nuclear weapons in 1994. 28 years later, they're under attack. What does that say to countries like North Korea and Iran? That nukes help. Both countries are blaming the US for this war. North Korea also tested a ballistic missile on Sunday, their 8th test this year. Kim Jong-un sees what is happening in Ukraine. He will draw the links between nukes and deterrence. So chances are he will hold on closely to those weapons. Where does that leave